puzzle cube, and the first thing I want to do is set up the units. Right now I have it on decimal inches because the cube is going to be 2¼ inches, so 2.25 inches. And the system units I have is millimeters if I ever want to 3D print it. Millimeters are usually easiest. So decimal inches on the US standard. So let's just make a regular box and we'll set it on cube. Since I already know how big it is, let's just go 2.25. And I have it on 3 segments each. Now we've created it. Zoom in on it all. Right click to stop making boxes. F4 to see the edges on the shaded version in the perspective viewport. Okay, I want to add a edit poly modifier. I can get to the actual edges, so I can select the edges. So the first thing I want to do is indent those inside edges, the interior edges. I want to leave the outside edges, if you will, on the corners alone for now. So if I select all the edges going in each direction anyway, the X, Y, and Z direction. Well, this will loop around to the Z direction, so looping those allows me to select all of them by just using the loop. What the loop does is connect edges end to end. The ring will connect them parallel to each other. Okay, now I would want to sync them in, but that would, well, if I just get the scale tool, that would do something like this, and that's actually moving not in the way that I want. So I would chamfer these edges just a teeny bit, maybe 0.03. Yeah, a little bit of gap there, and that way when I select, let's hit Q on the keyboard to get back to my regular select, I don't want to scale or move anything while I'm working on it. So probably I just want the top edges. It's not going to work to scale these center edges, if you will, all together because they'll get skewed. So I'm just going to loop just these top ones, and then I also have to hold the Alt key down and deselect from the right and left views. That way I only have the top and the bottom edges selected. So that was a somewhat quick way of selecting those. Then I can go to the scale tool and scale those in. Now I really need to be on the select by the selection or scale. With the scale tool on, I'm selecting by the selection center, or I'm going to scale it by the selection center. So I'm going to pay attention to, and I could use the scale snap at this point. I don't know what the scale snap settings are, but percent is at 10. Let's go 5. This way, scale it down, it'll snap right to 95%, and I think that's probably good. Nice little divot there, and that'll make the cubes look like individual cubes. Alright, so I'm going to do the same thing on the front and the left views and scale them, front to back, left to right. So one click and then control click the horizontal and vertical edges here, loop them, and then in the other views, Alt click and drag to deselect those. So looks like I have just the front and back edges selected, and I'll scale those in the Y direction down 95%. Similarly, use my left view, control clicking those 4 edges, loop them. This is a little trickier, so I'm going to hit Q on the keyboard. I need to get in between here with the Alt and drag that selection marquee across the selected edges that were sunken in. And I only need to do that once because it's not selecting any of the top ones. So now I have the left and right edges to scale. So R on the keyboard gets my scale tool, and I'll scale those in 95%. 95. I'm looking at the type in boxes at the bottom to see that. Looks like those are all pretty good. Okay. I do want to select all those sunken in edges and invert that selection. That'll select all the other edges. So Q on the keyboard again, just to make sure I don't accidentally select. Let's loop that and see if I missed any. I think I got them all. So all the sunken in edges are selected now. And I don't really want to select them, but I want to invert that selection. So now I have all the other edges selected, so I can round those off, and I can use the chamfer tool to do that. This time, I chamfer it the same amount, but I'm going to use more edges to make it smoother. 3 or 4 ought to work. So I think that gets all those edges nice and rounded. It's kind of hard to tell with all those, so F4 and then get out of edge mode, right? So clicking on that or hitting 2 on the keyboard, not the keypad or numpad. And then looks like maybe 95 was a little bit much, but actually I'm okay with that. All right. That's pretty much the Rubik's Cube. We want to color it, of course. So while I have this edit poly here, go to the polygon level and set each face to a different color. And I looked up the color scheme here on Ruwix.com. Anyway, it looks like the left, front, right, bottom, or back, and then the upper and lower. I don't know what that is. Yeah, so the upper, I'll choose white as the upper face, and what I have selected now is, I guess, the left face. So my left face should be orange, and the right face, so I'll just make this orange. So I want in each set of polygons to be different. So right now the ID is 3. With these polygons, I want to set material IDs for each side of this cube. So I started doing that and kind of messed it up. So I'm going to start over, and I'm going to select all the faces on one side. And I've also turned on the back face culling, meaning that I won't accidentally select the ones behind it. So this might help get this straightened out. So I'm going to start with 1s here. So I'm going to set the ID to 11. And then the ones on top. Accidentally select them. That's 5 polygons selected. Oops. Okay. So 33. 11. I'll make these 12s or 22s. We'll just make 11, 22, 33, and so forth. Already getting out of order. Okay, so if I select all the 11s, that gets me those, and the 33s gets me those. Okay, that's good. So I can spin around to this side and do 44, 55, and 66. So 44. $55. It was already that, but that's okay. And 66 for these guys. Okay. So to go back and double check everything, I have all the 66s so selected, so I'm going to select all the 55s. I got 2 faces selected. And then the 44s, select the 44s. 3 faces. 33s. 22s. I don't have to hold any keys down. There. It just adds to the selection when you do that. Okay, so now I want to invert that selection and make all those like 1 or something. So Control I. All those interior ones, I'm going to set that ID to 1. Okay, now the cube is set up for material, for the material setup. So here's the material editor, and I'm going to start with a multi-subobject material. So this allows me to set the material IDs for each color. So I'm going to drag that onto the cube, turns black because there's no materials going. I'll set the number. I think there's 7 materials now, 1 through 6, and the interior ones. So 1 is going to be black. So I'll set up a physical material and set that to 1. So all the materials that are on this, I'll set this to a black color. So all the polygons, sorry, that have maybe not quite like a dark. Okay, and with a roughness of 0, maybe a little bit of roughness. That should look like plastic. Okay, then I'll shift drag this a couple times here, so this will be the material of the black plastic for the cube, and these will be the sticker colors. So we have 2, we need 6 of these, so there's 3, 4, 5, and 6. And we'll attach these to their inputs. Now in the multi-sub-object, 1's good, but I needed 11, 22, 33, 44, 55, and 66. So each of those get their own color, and then I should only need to adjust each one of these and their colors. So I forgot which one's which, so I just want to make sure that the blue and white are opposite each other, so I'll just pick a blue color here. There's just pure blue. And then look around, let me make this a little smaller. So there's the blue color, and then this polygon is a 55. So on the 55, that's this guy, white. Okay, so now I have blue and white. And then looking at, let's go green in between them. How about on the top? So that's material 33. So 33 is right here. That's going to be green. Good enough. And then opposite green is 66. And opposite green is the front to back, so it's yellow. 66 is yellow. Okay, and then between the 44, let's see if I can get this oriented right. Okay, so between the green and the yellow, so touching the green and yellow is going to be red, and then orange. So red is 44. There we go. Red. And then the only one left is orange. Which is the trickier of the colors. If I can get a pure orange here. Orange is no blue, some green. Maybe it'd be easier to use the hue. So the green goes from 0 to 1, so it looks like 0.2. Two. So I'm gonna have to go with that. Good enough. Okay, this might be okay. And that looks pretty good, and we could end it here. I would want to go one step further and select all the polygons again. So if I just select all the ones and then invert it. So that's all the polygons themselves. I might have accidentally made that one. Anyway, no, that's good. So select all the ones and then invert it. So I should have I should have 54, 9 times 6, and I have 55, so there's an extra polygon in there somewhere. Well, I'm not seeing it, so it should be okay. Then, a nice little trick is to hold the control key and select the vertex tool. And what that does is it selects all the vertices that are connected to those selected polygons. So that gets me all the corners, the corner vertices of each of these faces. And I want to kind of round those off. So the chamfer tool works on an individual vertex like this, I believe. So probably the same amount. Zoom in here. Yeah, let's round that a little bit more with more sides. Maybe not too many. That might work. added more vertices here, but let's get out of vertex mode. Now this might look, well, let's go to, yeah. So again, going to want to renumber these polygons that make up the parts that still make it look sharp by selecting the main ones. Again, go through here. So I selected all the 22s, 11s, 33s, 44s, 55s, and 66s. Well, that's actually, I'm gonna have to manually do this, so forgot what I was doing. And just manually select these polygons so I can not select the corners that have the same polygon number on them. Probably should have done this first and then, but live and learn. Just an idea thought of right now. It's 55 again. Okay, now invert that and set those to 1 again. And that should be all I need to do. Now the stickers look a little more rounded. That's what I was after. Okay, now we can stop. Here's the Rubik's Cube as one complete object. It's can't be animated or anything, but good enough. All right, thanks.